Hello, and welcome back to another Elevated Marketing Chat. My name is Jennifer Denny, and believe it or not, we have been doing this as of this month since October 2019. That's a long time. That's 4 years of content that we have been doing this solo cast and going live every month to talk about different digital marketing topics that are going to matter for your business and your marketing. So I'm proud of that. We've kept you engaged for 4 years, and now we are going to talk about the digital marketing strategy to engagement. It's not a topic that you hear a lot about. I mean, I think you do in social media circles, but it's becoming more and more of a bigger thing that you really need to pay attention to. Should you have been paying attention to it all along? Probably, because you're in marketing, and in marketing, the name of the game is to grab somebody's attention. And in today's marketing world, it is incredibly diverse on the different places that people can learn about your business. And so holding one's attention is very important. So let's go through and talk about, some of the obvious at first when we talk about building an audience online, and that is going to be in your social media channels. We often talk about that, but we often talk about it in terms of building likes and followers. And the question is, and is very much true, does that really matter anymore? It's kind of a vanity metric. I think having people like your page and follow your page looks good from the onset, but it's not really how the algorithms work anymore. Social media, you are now seeing content that is similar to the type of content that you are engaging with. And so your feed is no longer those people that you have chosen to follow or to like, even though that was kind of going down where you really weren't getting to see that type content. TikTok kind of changed this game where what you engage with became forefront, and that's definitely forefront right now. If you look at social media in your feed, and you start counting how much of content that you're seeing that is similar to other content, but it's not a page you're necessarily following, that is because you are engaging with that content. The other thing that you're seeing happening is social media is becoming a search engine. TikTok really led the wave on this as well. And later we're going to talk about how ChatGPT and SGE results tie into search engines in themselves. But we've got to intertwine here how engagement in social media and search engines go together. There is a movement of more and more people, up to 41% of Gen Zers, that are using social media as their search engine. And you might not even realize that it's happening because there isn't any stats or tools or statistics that you see, except for TikTok has released some information on how many people are using social media platforms to actually search for information. And why this is important is because how the algorithms work to keep people on their platform. The more engagement, so comments, likes, shares that you have, the more reach that you get and the further out that your content goes just by creating good content. And so it's a delicate balance of creating that, engaging content with the product or service that you offer. And it's certainly not something that's easy, but you have to pay attention to it. And with it becoming more of a search engine, then you really need to be on social media with what you offer, but balance it with, is that entertaining information that your user would want? It's certainly interesting. It also plays into your ads that you're running, where you can actually say you want to get in front of this particular audience. And let's say you get in front of that particular audience, the more engaging that your ads are, so less I'm trying to sell you, more of how our brains actually work. I want to be entertained and informed. Then you're going to attract that audience that is going to want to listen to what you have to say, and your ads are not going to cost as much. The more engagement you have, the more reach you have, and it doesn't cost you as much, and your cost per click or your cost per impression starts to go down. So it's really just all intertwined. And then when you think about, like, over in European nations where Facebook is kind of going to this paid model because of privacy concerns, the engagement is still important, because even if they have a paid model, they want to keep people on their platforms. And so they're going to reward people who create engaging content. I think I've probably sold you on that. And I've talked about, like, there are lots of tips in order to keep your audience engaged. Really, this blog post is, or this chat, I should say, blog post will be coming out. If you want to get on our newsletter list, which we have over 25,000 followers of that on LinkedIn, you'll get the full blog post and a little bit more detailed information to keep you engaged. Is you want to create themes, to talk about the why, not the what. So take, for instance, like a fence builder. A fence builder could talk about the safety of your yard in terms of, like, kids with pools and otherwise, plants away from deers and other critters, regulations with homeowners associations. Each of those are different types of audiences, but they all care about the safety of your yard. And so you could create this series that talks about that and gives the why, not necessarily the what of the fence, to keep people engaged. Now, you have to definitely change that up a lot and can't have the same content. Of course, this needs to be in short form video. You need to be making video. We've been doing this since 2019. It's fun to go back and look at previous, like, where we started at and where we're at. We wrote a whole blog post on this, writing social media copy that gets engagement. And we talk through the different elements of what can help you get better at that. Okay, so social media was the obvious one. But what might not be as obvious to you is building an engaged audience on your website. First of all, anything that you are creating on social media should also exist on your website, because you own your website. You own that information. You do not own a platform. You do not own the algorithm that could come about with these platforms. And so you need to keep it there. But just like with social media platforms, websites are looking for engagement in order to reach more inside of search engines. And so let's talk about some of the obvious search engines right now. Google being probably more Google than anything, with their high percentage. They had a new platform come out, G4, previously UA, Google Analytics, the most widely used free, metric system out there. And they had new metrics that came out, like engagement and engagement rate. They started to hide things, which is the inverse bounce rate. Why did they do this? Well, if you tie it into the whole AI landscape, they need to know not only that you are massively producing content, but is this content engaging? Are people wanting to read it? So how is that defined? Engagement is defined by someone spending at least 10 seconds looking at multiple pages or completing a conversion. And a conversion is defined by what you call a conversion. So you definitely want to bring in an expert on what is the level that we want to obtain of a conversion. Everybody's going to be completely different, and there's definitely ways to optimize your conversions, but we're talking about engagement here and keeping somebody involved. People are producing this content at mass, amounts, and so there's gonna have to be ways that you're gonna have to make your content engaging on your website in order to rank in search engines. We will talk about ChatGPT and SGE, or Search Generative Experience, here in a minute, because that's a different type of search engine now that not everybody's paying attention to, but perhaps you should. So with your content, just like you will see with our blog post, in order to, make it engaging, people have to be able to scroll and look for that Z pattern, and be able to kind of get the gist of the article and whether or not they want to dig in and read the entire article. Now, 10 seconds is not a whole lot of time, but it definitely gets rid of, that natural kind of junk traffic that you might have been building before with SEO, with link building and, bunches of links coming in that's not really good traffic. So you have to pay attention to these different things. Good old SEO techniques like having H1, H2, bolded items really separates the content and makes it more readable and scannable. Creating different graphics within the content to pull out information that would really pull somebody in and draw them back to wanting to read the entire topic. Creating content, as we have said before, in different formats. So when you release a blog post, do you have it in audio format like a podcast? Do you have it in short form video like on perhaps leading to TikTok, but more importantly, probably to YouTube and YouTube Shorts? If you're creating it on TikTok, then you might as well take it over to YouTube Shorts, and then you might as well take it over to the website in a shorter, version, and possibly put that into an audiogram. Are you doing it in images? Are you doing it in video? Are you live out there with different ways? It seems kind of overwhelming, but we've written a blog post too on like where to start and kind of build on top of it and get it out there. Down and dirty, you've got to be creative, innovative, and AI is not going to quite get you there. So you need to pay attention to what your audience is saying and be unique and be different. That is what is going to get you that engagement. Always got to play for the intelligence, the emotional intelligence and empathy towards your reader. We, again, have written an entire blog post on content marketing. Is it still valuable in AI? And so I would encourage you to go through that blog post. Okay, so SGE, Search Generative Experience. This is what Google has with the tool Bard. And then there's ChatGPT. And they are pulling out certain search results. So it's just another type of search engine. And with these types of search engines, one thing that they are looking for is your social engagement on other social platforms as an indication of authority to show up in the search results. So we're just kind of going full circle with what's coming back around with engagement, and need to play the long-term game there. So no matter how you slice and dice this, engagement with your brand is going to be crucial. So another new term that's kind of out there is zero-click marketing. And it might seem to be this is where it gets tricky, and perhaps we're losing some of that information that we are so used to that click and driving it back to the website. And we're just not seeing that anymore because people are engaging with short form content. They're engaging with podcasts. They're engaging with webinars. They're engaging with those search generative results we just talked about with ChatGPT and with Bard, where there is no click. And the types of measurement that we have over there is solely based on engagement and the reach getting out. And so we just talked about having it on your website. It's not to say that you might not get more brand searches, but it's going back more to a PR type way of looking at it, and you're going to have to measure differently, but engagement is still at the heart of it. So a fair warning that there is going to be a sea of sameness coming with organic social media and with written content. You've got to ensure that you have a creative edge. As everybody starts using these tools, you might have a high bar where you can be ahead right now, but it's going to tip off where we're all kind of creating the same content. It might not. Some things that are happening with AI is that it is learning on itself, and perhaps it will learn to be creative to individuals. We're seeing some places where it can clone yourself and it can possibly think with neural networks, but it all might seem a little sci-fi. And be very careful with these AI tools and making sure it actually is giving you still that creative edge, because in marketing, standing out is what is going to make you get that reach and get that engagement. Now, there are some tools that are coming out, even OpenAI itself, that are creating tools where they will know if an image is created with AI. And that's interesting. Will that create an environment of, oh, I want more uniqueness with custom made? Or will it create more, oh, I want it because AI can make it? We're not really sure, where that's going to go. But I'm always going to kind of go where everybody else is not going, in a sense of not following too much trendy and trying to be unique. Because what is marketing all about? Vying for attention. So here's some tips to kind of, go through, talk to them. Words matter. So you want to use conversational type content. On our blog posts, I talk about, this way that you can talk more conversational and make people part of the conversation. Try not to use jargon. I know in digital marketing, there are lots of different jargon and things that we say that all mean the same thing. I feel like we're just trying to confuse people. So breaking that jargon down, well, this really just means this too, will help people be part of the conversation. And when on social media, want to actually, talk with you and feel like, oh, well, I'm not, I'm not too smart to be able to talk with. Look at your competitors. So sometimes they'll tell you what you should do and what you should not do. you'll look at their content and you might see that it doesn't have that much engagement as far as on social media. You can see those comments, likes, and shares, and perhaps you can take what they started and capture that opportunity to kind of finish the thought and do something just a little bit different. Stay on topic. We talked about earlier how you can kind of go branch out a little bit. That's within topic, but don't, like, for instance, don't do holiday posts or comments about current events in your blog post or on your social media unless it directly relates to your brand. Going back to how the algorithms work, you are confusing social media, you're confusing search engines. It might seem trendy, but and it might give you this like short burst of like, feel good that you got attention, but it's not going to help you in the long term, and you want to play the long game here. Definitely tell the story. We all are attracted to stories, and there are definitely different plots that you can arrange with your content, like, rags to riches, the quests, the voyage and return, tragedy, the rebirth, overcoming the monster. We're overcoming the monster of how people try to overcomplicate digital marketing and taking more of a nature approach with our brand to keep it calm. Is it complicated? Yes, it is, but we don't need to make it complicated to you as we're talking about it. So, definitely partner with opinion leaders. You might call them, influencers, but this is not anything new, and that there are people who are already in your niche and creating content, and they're trying to, get certain audiences, and they want to partner with you if you are in the same way in order to get that content out. So if I haven't convinced you already, engaging with your audience is very important in how all of this strategy comes together and how it all works. So it has been an interesting year in digital marketing, and I certainly that's my reminder. I need to go do something. That next year is going to be any different. So on December 14th, we are going to talk about navigating the chaos, 2024 marketing predictions in a blink and you will miss it world. So join me for that, and take care and have a great day.